Hi, welcome to Road by Culture. I'm your host, Kevin Isley. Today we're going to talk about Oatman, Arizona and climbing Sitgreaves Pass. Oatman, Arizona is a small town located in the Black Mountains of Mojave County in Arizona. It is a small ghost town that has become quite the tourist trap, but its history is really fascinating. The town sits at 2,710 feet above sea level, so you start off at a pretty good elevation before you start climbing up the pass. The town is named after Olive Oatman, who was a young Illinois girl making her journey westward with her family when in 1851 she was abducted by Indians in Arizona. They kept her as a slave until she was traded to the Mojave Indian tribe, and then she was brought in as one of their own. Her face was tattooed as they did with women in that tribe. Then in 1856, Olive Oatman was negotiated a release by the U.S. federal government at Fort Yuma, Arizona. In 1863, Johnny Moss, a mountain man, discovered gold in the Black Mountain. It was worth about $10 million. He had two mines that he claimed. The first one was named Moss after him, but he named the second one after Olive Oatman, whose story was really popular at that time. Following that discovery of gold, the town of Oatman began to boom up from the original population of not very many people to a pretty good amount of people, and they decided to name the town Oatman after Olive Oatman. Gold mining in that area waxed and waned, and so did the population of Oatman. In 1915, a massive gold ore was discovered, and the Eastern Mining Company had the property, so it became their mine. They named it the Tom Reed Mine, and it produced a massive amount of gold for about 25 years, and the population soared to 3,500 people. In those 25 years, the gold mine produced about $13,600,000 worth of gold. But if you adjust for gold's value now and inflation, that would raise it to about $850 million pulled out of there in 25 years. But once that mine was closed because of the war effort, they shut it down and the town vanished instantly. But Oatman, Arizona was fortunate in the fact that Route 66 linking Kingman, Arizona to Bullhead City went right through Oatman. But in 1953, Interstate 40 was built, and that took away the need for Route 66, and all the towns along there just sort of died. And by the 1960s, Oatman, Arizona was all but abandoned. So let's talk about the ride. It is absolutely an amazing, fun ride. I started my ride in Oatman, Arizona, and I got there at about 6:45 in the morning, so there is a lot of free parking all day long. And when I started my bike ride, it was 58 degrees, a little bit chilly, but I knew it was going to warm up that day. And once you leave Oatman, you start climbing instantly. And it is a beautiful, beautiful climb with just amazing desert views. I was lucky I rode this in April because it was after a lot of rain that we had, and the desert bloom was absolutely magnificent. Climbing from Oatman to the top of Sitgreaves Pass is a very serpentine and slightly steep in some areas of a climb. But you're just awestruck by how beautiful the desert is. I don't live in the desert, I don't want to live in the desert, but I like going to the desert, and I really enjoyed riding my bike in the desert. The one problem I had with this ride is about halfway up the climb, there's a mine. It's not like the old-timey mines, a little hole in the mountain. It's like strip mining, and there's a lot of flat dirt that is just bulldozed and a lot of trucks, and it took away a little bit from the scenery of what I was really enjoying. But hey, it's there, it's industry, you ride past it, and then after you get past the mine, you hit these two switchbacks that are absolutely amazing. They are steep, they are beautiful, and they just take your breath away as you keep climbing up the Black Mountains. Once you get past those two switchbacks, you head on up for a couple more really good turns before you reach the summit. The summit is 3,250 feet in the air, and you start at 2,700, so it's a pretty good climb. Once you're at the summit, you look over the one side where you just came from, an Oatman, and there is just beautiful mountains, and it is spectacular. You look down the other side and you start to see how the road goes past the mountains into the flat plateau. The descent on the other side is actually a really wonderful descent. It's not too steep, you pedal through most things, but you can get up to a pretty good clip. I really enjoyed the serpentine aspect of the road, although this side of the pass isn't quite as serpentine as the Oatman side. Once you get past all the turns, you're going to come to a gas station in Cool Springs, Arizona. The only thing in Cool Springs, Arizona is this gas station. And the people in there are super cool, and they will tell you all about the history of the area, from the Native Americans and all the problems they had with the battles with the federal United States government, to just all the cool stuff that happens there. The guy in there told me that this gas station is the gas station used in the movie Cars. And my son loved Cars. I've seen Cars like 50 times. So I took a step back, crossed the street, looked at it. Yes, this is the gas station. Even the mountain behind it looks like a radiator cap, because the name of the town was Radiator Springs and the name of this town is Cool Springs. You know that this must be right. And if it's not, I still like the legend of it. Once I got past Cool Springs, I realized I needed more miles, so I kept pedaling downward into the plateau until I hit 16 miles. I knew if I turned around, I'd have a 32-mile ride, and that seemed pretty decent based on the time I had, because I had to get back to Lake Havasu City to see my family. Going up the other side is a really wonderful climb. It's not very steep, it's very serpentine, and it is absolutely just stunningly beautiful. And I went pretty slow because I really wanted to enjoy the beauty of the area. I wasn't in a huge rush to get home. I just knew I was basically on time. Another interesting fact I learned at that gas station is the name of the road between Oatman and Cool Springs. They call that the Sidewinder because in 7.8 miles, there are 191 turns. That is incredible, and that is really what every cyclist is looking for. Beautiful turns when you're climbing, beautiful turns when you're descending. It is absolutely an amazing, amazing place to ride a bike. If you want more than 32 miles and you want to do this ride, if you start in Oatman, Arizona and ride to Kingman, Arizona, that's 25 miles away, and you will have a 50-mile ride, which I think would be a really nice ride. If you want to make this a 100-mile ride, you could start in Topeka, Arizona, where there's a restaurant and gas station and a bar. You could ride 25 miles to Oatman and then another 25 miles all the way to Kingman, turn around, you have yourself a 100-mile ride. Although a 100-mile ride in the desert might be a little bit tricky, and you would have to time that perfectly. Like I said before, when I started the ride, it was 58 degrees, but when I finished the ride, it was 81 degrees at noon. So it got pretty hot, and it was 91 at 2 o'clock. And if you notice, I'm wearing a vest. Yes, it was 58 degrees when I started, and a vest was very helpful, but I kept my vest on even when it was 81 degrees. And the reason I did this is I was wearing a high-vis pink vest, and I had my light on, because the one problem with this road is there is no shoulder on this road. So you are just riding in the middle. This had me a little bit nervous, but every car I encountered was very friendly and concerned about my safety. I got a lot of happy beeps. You know, those short ones like beep, beep, I'm right here. Lots of those, no long extended get the F out of my way beeps. Everybody was friendly on the road and they waved to me, and when I made a couple of stops, they actually engaged me in conversation about what it was like to ride on this road. I just had to tell them it was awesome. Well, I think that just about covers it. Oatman, Arizona, and going to Sitgreaves Pass. If you like this episode, give it a thumbs up. If you're new to my channel, hit that subscribe button. And as always, I'm on YouTube, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, I'm sometimes still on Twitter, but not a lot. And until the next time, I hope to see you out there on the road.